Good morning, Muscatine. I hope you guys are all out enjoying the really overcast weather. We have a huge favor to ask of you. There's going to be a couple mythical creatures floating around. Supposedly there's a pink gorilla that's supposed to be coming into town today to deliver my gift from Jess Fab, who was supposed to be here yesterday for National Talk Show Host Day, but apparently there was some pink gorilla accident up in Iowa City. I'm not sure exactly. But in addition to that, I don't know if you've noticed, there's also a new dragon in town hanging out on the corner of, what is that, Chris? Washington and Cypress at Araguin. Yeah, right next to the old Family Video, Family Dollar area. And it used to be a car wash, but Araguin's turned it into a heating and cooling. And they had the other Chris Anderson, as many of you know him, the talented Chris Anderson, paint their logo on the side of the building. So make sure when you drive by, take a peek at that. It's large and in charge, and Chris did an absolutely tremendous job on it. I think, Chris, do you have a picture of it there? So enjoy that as you go by. Keep an eye out for a pink gorilla. If you see it, let me know, because I'm excited about whatever Jess has coming to be delivered for me. We're officially a week out from Halloween, and if you haven't noticed, Muscatine apparently loves Halloween, because we put together, in the community calendar like we always do, all the trick-or-treat events, all the trunk-or-treats, all the everything. We've made that discovermuscatine.com/Halloween, and I'm looking at it right now. With a week to go, we still have 16 events to go in this community. Junior Achievements Booze and Bites fundraiser is next Wednesday, or no, pardon me. No, it's not next Wednesday. It's Thursday. And then Ed Morris has their trunk or treat. Addington Place has one. Saturday has Halloween at the Market. Stinky's House of Horrors is the 28th, with the 3 days leading up to it is Frightening for Food. And I think I just got a message. I can't totally confirm this, but I think Stinky himself is going to be on the show on Friday. So also that Saturday, you've got Trick or Treat out at High V. You've got Trunk or Treat at Muscatine Church of Christ at 3. Stepping Stones has theirs at 5, so you can kind of roll from one right to the other. The city has theirs down at the soccer complex starting at 6. And that's the 28th. It's just the 28th. The 29th, you've got Frights, Flights, and Bites at Contrary. There's a trunk or treat at Taco John's at Grace Lutheran Church, which I think that's the one. Yeah, that is the whole Faith Together community. Goodwill has theirs on the 29th as well. The 30th, Lutheran Living Senior Campus has theirs. You can go down and visit them. I know it would absolutely make a bunch of people's day. And then finally, on the 31st, like that didn't even get us to Halloween, folks. That list did not even get us to Halloween. Halloween, you've got a trunk or treat with Aspire of Muscatine at 4, and then of course citywide trick or treat from 6 to 8. If you didn't remember all that, or you didn't have a pen and paper, not taking notes, just go to any page on Discover Muscatine. Up at the top it says Halloween in Muscatine. It's seriously been the most visited site on our website for probably the last week and a half. So, and that's saying a lot. I mean, you guys love your Discover Muscatine, but it's all there. So with that, we're going to go away from the scary stuff into the more enjoyable stuff for a moment. And then we're going to swing back to the super scary stuff at the end when Mr. Jeff Cochran from Bosch is here. He brought a couple little friends. I don't know if you noticed them up front. We're going to talk about all the fall pests and stuff that you've probably got hanging around. I know we've got some of them, but until then, Dan, let's talk about some nice, pleasant things. Oh, yeah. The Jackson Concert Series, actually first, let's have you introduce yourself for those that may not know, and just a little bit about the Jackson Concert Series.
Yeah, I'm Dan Laaveg, the music director at Wesley United Methodist Church, and I am part of the Jackson Concert Series committee, which provides free concerts to the Muscatine area of a variety of musical acts.
Yeah, and I think the next two concerts are a really good example of the variety function that you guys provide. So if you go out to the wesleyonline.org and go to Jackson Concert Series, you can see the whole list. So the next one on the 29th is Greg Hand, who is an organist. And then there's a high school connection here as well.
Yeah, so Greg Hand is the University of Iowa organ professor. He actually was like my main organ professor there during my graduate studies. He's doing some iconic organ pieces, but he's also bringing in 3 MHS vocal soloists, and he's accompanying them on organ. And he's also, like right now, in the weeks leading up to it, working with 2 pianists, preparing their piano pieces to be played on the organ. So it's high school honors concert and organ recital. It's kind of a new format of doing an organ recital.
That's pretty cool. I love the connection with the high schoolers. But you said piano there, and so that makes me curious. One of my favorite musicians is Billy Joel. One of my favorite songs is Piano Man. Does he ever convert Piano Man to the organ? Like, can you play that on the organ?
Well, I guess the 2 biggest differences would be that, he would have to be playing with his feet, the bass line, and then he could maybe use some. Well, on organ, you play with your feet. You play the bass line with your feet. And then
See, this is why I'm not a musician, folks.
Yeah.
Like that, no. Like, and I've told people this. Like, I can't clap in rhythm. Like, I tried multiple. My mom tried. She played piano and stuff like that. Piano, violin, saxophone. To be blunt, I sucked at all of it. Right. So that's what I love about this concert series, and you guys bringing it in is. I know it's something I can't do, but man, I enjoy it and appreciate it. Mm-hmm. And it's to me, it's just a wonder that people could even like read music and do something. And then now you're telling me to play with the feet at the same time. I'm out.
Yeah,
I'm out.
Yeah. In addition to that, Greg is going to be talking about just how the organ works. Also, how just with a little practice, high school pianists can play their pieces on the organ.
So what is pretend I'm an idiot. It'll be easy. What is obviously, there's a big difference between an organ and a piano, but like, when I look at them, I'm like, keys, white, black, mm-hmm. But what are some of the biggest differences in like how you have to play it? Yeah,
so on the piano, you can play a note and hold down the sustain pedal, and that it's gonna, slowly get softer, but it's still there.
Right.
The organ, once you lift up your finger, the sound is gone. Unless you're in a very reverberant place or something, but it's still going to go away. So with organ, you have to, like, if you want to keep a smooth sound going, you're actually going to have to either have your finger just do it all at once, or possibly substitute, play one note, put a finger there, get your hand ready for a new position. So there's a lot more, like,
it sounds horrible. Like, I shouldn't say horrible. It sounds extremely more complicated.
Yeah. Yeah.
Holy cow.
And of course, all the different sounds of the stops that you can select, like a flute sound, maybe just a classic trumpet sound, all that are available. And
I'll let you guys handle that. I'll just go enjoy it, right? Like, that's my role in this whole thing is I just go enjoy it. So Greg's here on the 29th, which would be
this Sunday at 4 p.m. Yeah. Free concert.
Yep. And that's at 4, like you said. Doors open about half an hour early, right?
Yep.
And Wesley, as we always say, is the one on the corner of Iowa and 4th. It's the big gray one. Mm-hmm. Kind of come in the back through the glass door in the back, probably.
You can, come in the main entrance on West 4th.
Yeah. Yep. So that's the first concert. So then the next one on the list is, I don't know if it could get much different. It's the Singing Contractors. Mm-hmm. And so what are the Singing Contractors for those that haven't seen the clips?
Well, it's just a couple guys that build houses and really just started making some videos of them singing. They've got some really huge voices. They sing gospel, some country, and they've just really amassed a following. They didn't give themselves the name, the Singing Contractors. Yeah. People who saw them online did, and so they still build houses, but then they go around doing concerts and just have a great time. They've got 100 million YouTube views and just very likable, fun personalities and huge voices, big beards.
Yeah, it's almost like Tool Time meets the opera, not the opera, but and we're trying to still get connected to do a little segment with them before the show and before the concert. So I hope we can pull that off. And then quick, as we go through the holidays, you've got the Celtic Christmas coming up. You've got after the holidays, you take a little bit of time off, but you've got like the Warburg Handbell Choir. I mean, and it goes all the way through till July. So
Yep.
you guys do a tremendous job with that. There's always something going on. What do you think will be the most enjoyable thing for you on Sunday? I mean, this is your professor. This is like, have you worked with any of the high schoolers before? Like,
I have a couple of the singers in the Muscatine Youth Choir.
Gotcha.
So that's a cool connection.
So what are you looking forward to the most?
It's so varied, all the different performances. I mean, hearing like the Vidor Toccata or the Bach D minor Toccata and Fugue, these probably two of the most famous organ pieces are really going to be fantastic to hear. But also, hearing pianists, try out their pieces on the organ and just to see their progress. So all of it's going to be a lot of fun.
So basically, just go spend your Sunday afternoon, have some fun, listen to some good music, maybe rib Dan a little bit that he's not as good as this professor yet, right? Maybe, but enjoy the Jackson Concert Series. I mean, it is absolutely a gem of a thing that you guys do, and it's been going on for like 605 years or something, hasn't it?
Since 1981. Yep.
Yeah. Okay, well, it's not quite as old as me, but close. So maybe not 605. Is there anything else big that you want to talk about?
Well, just with the Singing Contractors, it's Friday, November 3rd at 7:30. Doors open at 6:30.
Yep.
So we had someone probably, I don't know, several months back who, once they found out that we were having this concert, said like, well, when can I get tickets? And it's like, there are no tickets.
There are no tickets.
They're from the Kansas City area. So we're expecting a big crowd.
Wow.
And really want you to experience.
Yeah, be there early, get there, enjoy it, get a seat. And I'll tell you this, folks, we do a lot of work with the symphony, who has been playing at Wesley since COVID. And that facility is amazing to listen to music in. It is, you almost get transported, like you're not in Muscatine, you're just in this cavernous world that is just filled with, and like you feel it when the symphony plays, and I would imagine like when the organ plays, like it engulfs you, which is, it's a gorgeous facility, gorgeous sanctuary, and it'll make a great concert venue for this.
Yeah, so many performers come in and say like, wow, it's just incredible, the stained glass windows.
Yeah, it's if you haven't been there, just go. Like, just go enjoy it. It's a Muscatine treasure that doesn't always get, it's a sanctuary on Sundays. So, it's not like it's a tourist site or anything, but it is just this really amazing facility that we've got sitting right there on the corner of 4th and Iowa. So.
Yep.
Quick recap. You got Greg Hand.
Sunday at 4.
And then it's the following Friday.
Yep, November 3rd.
November 3rd, 7:30.
Yep.
At Wesley, the Singing Contractors. So, Dan, thank you very much.
Yeah, good to see
Pleasure as always. And remember, folks, they're free concerts. Like, just go and enjoy it. Literally, all it takes is off the couch, out the door, in the car, park, walk in. That's it. So, with that, we will be right back with Melanie Alexander from the Muscatine Art Center, who's got a whole bunch of stuff coming up. And if you like the Japanese garden, that's obviously, again, another one of the treasures of Muscatine, we've got some info that you're going to want to hear. So we'll be back in just a moment. And welcome back. We have Melanie Alexander, who is, well, actually, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Okay.
And just a little bit about what you do at the Art Center, for those that don't know. and then we're going to talk about some cool stuff you've got coming up.
Sure, yeah. So I'm Melanie Alexander, director of the Muscatine Art Center. We do a little bit of everything. So we have the historic house with permanent collections on view long-term in the house. A lot of our Mississippi River collection and some truly amazing works of art for, our community of 23,000. So there's a George O'Keeffe, and we have a painting by Marc Chagall, and some of these names that even people who really aren't into art would recognize. Right. And we also have quite a few spaces where we have changing exhibitions. So if you don't like what's on view today, come back in a couple months, we'll have something different.
It's kind of like the weather in Iowa. Wait 10 minutes, you get something new, right?
Right.
You wait at the art center, wait a month or two, you're going to get to see something new.
Yeah, so we do all types of exhibitions, and people really come out for a big variety of events and programs. So I think a lot of what we'll talk about is really on the event and program side, but there is a class called Mini Masters that's for kids who are preschool up to, we do have that on Wednesday mornings and Thursday afternoons, so even if there's a young school-age child, like a kindergartner, can come to that. There's actually right now, or starting at 10, I should say, we have a partnership with West Hill Cakery. Yep. So our program coordinator, Katie Lose, is out there doing Halloween-themed activities. That goes on until 1 o'clock today. And let's see, we have events to talk about. There's a historic Japanese garden to talk about, so lots.
So let's start with I'm a holiday guy. Let's start with the ornament contest.
Oh, sure. Okay.
Let's start with that. I just think it's cool. So go ahead.
So we have, it's called the Heartfelt and Homemade Ornament Competition. And we are asking local artists and crafters to submit an ornament. And these ornaments will be on view November, let's see, I'm going to try to get this right exactly. November 9th through December 7th. And so they're all made by crafters and people here in Muscatine and in surrounding communities. It's a big mix of stuff. Things are made out of wood, knitted items, things made with recycled materials, paper ornaments, naturally found materials. But it'll be a juried competition, so a judged competition. So we'll have judges award first, second, and third place, and first place is actually $100. So you could win, and then there's also public voting this time around, and then the ornaments will be on view in the showcases that are near our front desk. Oh, and this is, I think, the third or fourth year that we've done this. We had a pause during COVID, and now we're back. So yeah, they're really super fun to see just the variety. We already have ornaments coming in. It's not too late to get those ornaments into the Art Center. The forms are on our website. And I think the deadline is November 1st, so not too much. It's
coming up. It's about a week from now. I noticed that. Yep.
It's coming up, and then you can. People who participate get a complimentary ticket to the Holiday Open House, which is on December 7th, and the Holiday Open House is a big event it's a fundraiser for the Friends of the Muscatine Art Center, and all the proceeds between the ornament competition and the Holiday Open House go back to the Friends organization, and they support educational programs at the Art Center. So good cause, and the event will be fun. There's live music, and of course food and drinks, and you can see all the ornaments, you can purchase ornaments. The house will be decorated for the holidays, which is really spectacular.
Yes, it is.
So yeah, lots going on there.
And this, we actually, I think I alluded to this a little bit when Megan was on yesterday talking about Illuminate and how much this community dives into the holidays, right?
Yeah.
And it all sort of starts, with like this competition, but then like most of it really kind of kicks off that first Friday with the stroll, and Illuminate will be on, and then you guys have like your open house, and like there's just so much to do.
Yeah.
I remember when we took over the show and I mentioned this, we wanted it to be like a Hallmark movie, right?
Right.
And really all of Muscatine kind of becomes this like sequential Hallmark movie, because like you guys are sort of like that. It's just these like classic things that are something that you can go back to year after year as the things that trigger those great memories. And that's what I love about like stuff like this, because every ornament has a story. Every ornament, and I guarantee you there'll be ornaments at this that will remind you of one in some way that you had as a kid, and it's going to bring back a positive memory. And those are the kinds of things that make the holidays work and make them enjoyable. It's just finding things that you don't expect to trigger a memory, and they happen all over the place.
And speaking of that, so people who are interested in doing a gingerbread house, the Art Center has been doing gingerbread houses for a very long time, and we have a baker who makes them for us. So they're not the kits that you would buy, at Walmart or in a store. So all the supplies are included, even the icing and the candy. It's that class is on December 2nd, and it fills up super fast.
I would imagine. I laugh because, I literally just said things that you wouldn't expect to trigger memories.
Right.
You bring up gingerbread house, and all of a sudden I flip back to probably, I'm going to guess 3rd grade Chris, who would, you make them in school, and let's just say that mine ended up being more like a tent than a house. And but I'll never forget that stupid thing, because it made me so mad. And then to just break it, start eating parts of it, just absolutely made my day. So go have that experience, right? Just make a better one than I did.
Well, and the nice thing is you have people who are helping you, and we're using the icing that we know will stick and all these things, so it makes it you can be successful at this one.
Funny thing is, this tells you how bad I was at it. Mary Alice Sessler.
Sure,
obviously. You'll never guess who my art teacher as a kid was.
Oh, Mary Alice.
Yeah. That was bad enough that she couldn't help.
Oh.
I don't even remember what I did. I think I cracked some stuff because I was going to try and I don't know, and it just turned into a hot mess. But
yeah. And then the other holiday event that's on our calendar is called Santa-Rama. So that's on December 10th. It's a free event. You come in between 1:30 and 3:30, and there's just a nice mix of Santa-related crafts and holiday-related crafts that you can do. You can, of course, go through with your kids, your family, check out the holiday decorations, kind of just a fun, multiple things that, to get you into the spirit of the holidays.
Yeah, which is, again, great. I mean, that's that first 10 days, and that's one thing I like about what you keep them kind of front loaded to the beginning of the month, so that people can actually go to them before all the family stuff starts. And if you're anything like us, everybody's got 17 Christmases you got to go to, and it just becomes a logistical nightmare. But
and it's a logistical nightmare sometimes to plan a holiday event in this community, because it is a packed schedule.
It is, and that's it's a positive. And the one thing that I would toss out there is, you guys have events, obviously we do, and if you're thinking about an event, reach out to one of us, and we can help kind of guide you on where it is, what all is going on, but also maybe there's one that you can be a part of in some way, shape, or form. So because there's always room for more. We always have room for more Christmas and holidays in Muscatine. We'll find room. So spitting off the holidays for a quick second, the mobile sculpture thing. This is kind of a cool little, I don't even know what, again, I'm just going to let you try and describe it, because I'm it's cool. I just never have the words.
So this is a special project we're doing through actually Quad City Arts, their Visiting Artist Series. And they are bringing in an artist named Kevin Reese, who his sort of organization is called School Sculptures. Now, we're not a school, but he's coming to the Muscatine Art Center this Thursday on October 26th from 5:15 to, it's about an hour and a half long thing. We're going to be making one large mobile, and you can participate and make components of that. So it's intended for, bring the kids, but even if you don't have kids, come on over. You can do it as a family. You can do it,
Yep.
we're ideally going to have, 20, 30 people working together to make one big thing. So this is new to us too. We've never worked with this artist before. It is a special thing that's as part of this Visiting Artist series, but and it's a little bit of a deviation from the Visiting Artist series in that usually it's a performance. It's
right.
music or it's dance or theater, and this time it's working with this one artist to make one big mobile to hang, from the ceiling.
What's cool, and again, the things that trigger memories, right? So, again, I'm not an art guy, right? Like music and art, I love them, and I will say this, shout out to Mrs. Sessler and Sue Robinson, my music and art teachers when I was a kid. They did a great job of instilling the appreciation of it, and the concept of working with an artist to build something and create something. When we were kids, Mary Alice had this sculpture guy come in, and we all drew like these little segments, and we each made a little thing, and then it was cast into aluminum. And like I still remember what that thing looked like today, right?
Yeah.
And this mobile gives you that same kind of a thing. It's community, it's not a class, but you can go in and you'll remember the people that you worked with. You'll remember what it was, and then again, the next time you see something like one of those 30 things, you're gonna instantly be called back to the great experience you had.
Right, yeah, and this is something that is offered, free of charge, and you don't have to RSVP. It's in our studio, which is in the Stanley Gallery, the lower level. So if you come up Cedar Street and park in the parking lot, go in that lower level door, the classroom's right there. And, everybody's welcome to come and participate. I'm curious to see what is created that day. It'll be a fun project.
And again, that's what's cool is when you bring that many different people together, and I'm assuming there'll be some sort of maybe theme, I don't know, but you still get so many different takes on the same theme or the same whatever that it kind of opens you up a little bit to going, oh, I hadn't thought about that, but cool.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, and you get to see how an artist who's been doing these projects all over the country thinks about these things and plans them, and so you get a little bit of taste of what it's like to create something on a big scale. Yeah.
And something that none of us could do on our own, and that actually even kind of segues perfectly over into the Japanese garden.
Yeah.
Because the Japanese garden is one of those things that for me it's synonymous with the art center, right? And it's such a retreat, right?
Yeah.
Like it's such a oasis from what is, I'm going to call it normal Iowa landscape, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like it's even just driving by, you get the vibe. You know what I mean? Like you pick up a little bit of, hey, there's something cool over there that's not corn. No offense to the farmers, corn and soybean are great, but maybe not, as aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah.
And so you guys have got some cool stuff coming up with that.
Right. So we've been in the middle of a rehabilitation project, a historic rehabilitation, and it's been funded with a federal grant. So we have to work really closely with the State Historic Preservation Office and with the National Park Service. So, when you talk about a Japanese garden, people have kind of an idea of what that means. Well, this is a historic preservation project. So we're taking it back to the past. The garden was originally installed in 1930. And we have all sorts of historic photographs, fortunately, that show us what it looked like and what types of plants were in it, just how much rock was in the garden. So, you have to think about it in terms of, what it's not, what would the art center like this garden to look like? It's how do we match it up to the photos as best we can while it's a public garden and we have to have, you know, accessibility
Right.
and safety and all of that. So this has been a project that really it goes back a long ways. We've been working with a consultant, Heidi Homan. She's a professor at Iowa State University in the Landscape Architecture School, and she's really the person in the state of Iowa who does historic landscapes. So she came out with a study in 2020 that showed us, you know, what we needed to do to rehabilitate the garden and to bring you call them character defining features. So what
Right.
made that garden what it was? So how to bring those features back and kind of eliminate the things that didn't belong. So over the last, you know, year and a half, people have seen a lot happening with, you know, trees coming down, and it's a little scary, you know, when you see big change like that. But if you go and visit the garden today, you'll see that, and you look at the historic photographs, we are so close to what it was in the 1930s. Now keep in mind, most of the plants and the sod have only been in the ground for maybe 3 weeks, 4 weeks
Right.
at this point,
Right.
you know? So it will grow, it will mature,
Right.
things will fill in and get bigger, but there's I don't know how many plants, hundreds of new plantings in that space. And the water feature is currently running. There's a pump so that the water is constantly circulating through the garden. It's sort of 3 levels. So when you drive on Mulberry, you can only see the top part.
Right.
And you see some of the new trees that have been planted, but you don't really get a good sense for what's down below.
Yep.
So right now we're, you know, the sod has, thankfully we've had some rain and
Right.
it's gotten pretty well established. We've been kind of holding off and saying, okay, open the doors, everybody,
Right.
you know,
Yep.
everybody come and take a look. But there's still a couple little things that we need to we're waiting for handrails to come back, some signage to come into the garden, to keep people safe and to keep the new plantings safe as well. But you know, a lot of work and a lot of thought has gone into this rehabilitation project. I don't think I said that the other part of the funding piece was from the Carver Charitable Trust. So we're very fortunate that between the grants, we've been able to undertake basically the whole thing. So it's really, you know, getting back to what it was in Laura's time, but it's an important part of sort of placemaking for the Muscatine community. This is a place that's, you know, a lot of people over the decades have grown up, you know, being familiar
Yep.
with the garden.
And that's, excuse me. You know, that's one thing, you know, my parents, you know, from my middle school days on, you know, we lived just down the street from the art center. So every time I went out to a friend's house or whatever, I was walking past it.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I walked past the garden, you know, 4 or 5 times a week, probably at least.
Right.
And it's just sort of this, like so many things in Muscatine, that's just like, it's this thing that's there. And you don't necessarily take it for granted, but you
Yeah.
also don't get to look at it with new eyes all the time.
Right.
And that's what I'm looking forward to about this is like, it's still going to be the Japanese garden,
Yeah.
right? Like, and
Yeah.
it's still going to have that same, I'm going to call it vibe. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, you're still having the same, but it's not going to look the same.
Yeah,
Right?
it's what it should be, though.
Right,
I mean,
yeah.
that's what it
And-
was historically.
Yeah,
And
because it kind of gone
yeah,
wayward.
there were a lot of things that, you know, didn't belong
Right.
in the garden, and those things took over and created all sorts of problems for the water feature and pine needles taking up. When
Yep.
you go and look at the lawn, sort of on that lower tier by the pergola, you go, oh my gosh, that's a huge expanse of lawn. Where before it used to be, you know, a third of it was pine needles. So
Yep.
it's really different.
And yeah, because we would set up down there often with my dad and I for like things that you guys
Right.
were doing, and like there's a lot of space down there,
There-
but you really couldn't use a lot of it because
Right.
it was all just,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
dark dead stuff.
Yeah. So, yeah, the garden, we did a lot of research about the history of that garden before the project, the physical rehabilitation started, but we hired another consultant, Beth Cody, funded through a grant, to research Japanese gardens in the Midwest. And one of the questions we had, is this really the only remaining Japanese style garden that dates to before World War II? And it is, you know,
wow.
so at least it's open to the public. And even she looked into residential, and there were other Japanese style gardens in Iowa, in the Midwest, but those gardens don't remain. So it's really a special place. You know, Laura Musser-McCollum, who lived at the house, she married her second husband in 1938, if I remember correctly. And she then moved to his town of Kansas City, and she remained the owner of the property at 1314 Mulberry. And she came back and she visited, and she would stay there for periods of time. But we think that really it was sort of her, you know, not living there full time that maybe kept that garden intact during World War II, because a lot of people were taking out Japanese style gardens, or, you know, they were vandalized, or, you know, I would say that it did shift a little bit more into, say, a rock garden, but that would have even been probably in the late 30s, early 40s. So, you know, our goal with this rehabilitation project was to take it back to the time when Laura was still calling Muscatine her primary home. So, you know, that would have been between when the garden was built in 1930 and, you know, 1937 or so. So, yeah.
And again, stop by once. I mean, you can go up and you can kind of like look over and see it now.
Right.
But, you know, I assume you'll put out a post when it's safe to
Yeah.
travel down there. But keep an eye out for that, because it's something that it's definitely worth a look.
Yeah, and we're forming a Friends of the Japanese Garden group to help kind of care for it. You know, we've put all this time and effort and money into the Japanese garden, and we want it to remain, you know, a beautiful place. So we are forming the Friends of the Japanese Garden, and we have some information sessions coming up. The first one is November 2nd at 4:30. And then the second one is Wednesday, November 8th, over the noon hour. So if you're into gardening, or if you want to, you know, just contribute as a volunteer, and you know, help us just keep it in great shape. We're looking for that type of help, and there's information on our website, or you can just call the Art Center and we'll tell you more about it, or you're welcome to just drop into one of those sessions, and we'll just talk a little bit about what's happened with the garden, and, you know, what the plan is for the Friends of the Japanese Garden.
Awesome. And we've got all of that on the Discover Muscatine community calendar, and you can also get it, of course, on their website. If you go up to Happenings, I think it's actually called Happenings, up on this, up on the top menu bar, Happenings, drop down, and it'll have all their upcoming events and stuff.
Yeah.
So, Melanie, thank you. It was a pleasure as always.
Yeah,
Is there
thank
anything
you.
else you wanted to?
Oh, I could talk for a long time, but I know you have another guest.
Well, we do, Jeff's, you know, and it's bugs, folks. It's actually pretty important. But, no, you guys, and of course, you're welcome back anytime, because you guys always have a bunch of great stuff going on. And we've almost, not quite completely automated getting all of their stuff onto the Discover Muscatine calendar, so that we don't all have to do it 17 times. But we found a couple little cool tricks, so you can always see what they've got going on with us as well.
Yeah,
so
we appreciate that.
Yeah, not a problem. Well, we will be right back with Mr. Jeff Cochran from Bosch Pest Control, who's going to talk about box elder bugs, Asian lady beetles, stink bugs, I don't know, you know, all that stuff that comes crawling around this time of year when they want to come inside because it's cold. We're going to talk about how you handle that. So we'll be right back.
We are looking for a zero-turn lawnmower.
At Hustler Turf, quality matters,
Can I test drive that one?
In the store?
even in the buying experience. We know you want to buy from someone who knows what they're talking
We're
about.
looking for a zero-turn mower.
Like this guy.
First thing you need to know is what's the size of your property? Are there any obstacles?
Head to your local Hustler dealer and talk to a lawnmower expert.
Stop in to Muscatine Lawn and Power at 2020 Stewart Road to see Hustler quality for yourself.
Have you heard the littlest things can make the biggest difference? Every day, bigs and littles are connecting in our community. Their time together can look a little different, but the goals and outcomes are the same. Littles are building confidence, forming better relationships, a sense of belonging, and achieving big goals. But there are more kids just like me who are still waiting. Will you join us in making more matches possible? Support big brothers, big sisters.
Oh, I wish you guys could see what happens here on the commercial breaks. Chris starts. We're talking about the organ and some of the stuff Dan was saying, and that we didn't realize you had to play with the feet. Chris starts counting down 5, 4, 3. I'm completely ignoring him because whatever. Jeff's like, he's.
I thought you were in charge.
Yeah, no, I'm not. you know what it's like. You're
Yeah, that's
not
right.
even close in charge. I'm just here to look pretty. So, if you could, and we were talking about this before the show, I've known you pretty much my entire life, but for those that don't know you, could you introduce yourself real quick and just a little bit about what Bosch does overall? And then we've got some stuff that you're going to want to hear.
All right. I'm Jeff Cochran. Been the owner of Bosch since 2008. Had a couple of partners. They both passed away in 2020 with cancer. So the last 3-4 years have been interesting. But yeah, we at Bosch Pest Control, we try to take care of all the insect pests and rodent pests that bother you. If it bothers you, it's probably going to bother us, so give us a call. So yeah, we just try to make your life easy.
Yeah, and you've got a handful of technicians, so I mean, it's not like just Jeff out there running around with a wand.
Yep.
I mean, and something I did not realize, you have one of my favorite people works in your office, Patty.
Oh,
I did
yes.
not know she'd got it. So, quick side note: this is the kind of thing you get in Muscatine, folks, right? So, Patty worked at a physical therapy clinic that my daughter went to, and
yes.
so, through some of the, roughest times we had there, Patty'd be the one smiling when you came in, and just always found a way to make our day better. So,
Patty is retiring. So if you want to talk to Patty, you need to call and order a pest control service before December 22nd.
oh, gee, like officially fully retiring.
That's what she tells us. She's been kind of semi-retired.
I was gonna say she kind of has been doing that for a while. But
Well, then she had one grandbaby, and now she's got 2 grandbabies, both in St. Louis. And so she's like semi-retired. She's like one foot is out the door.
I can't say that I blame her.
Grandparenting is important, and those
It is.
grandkids are more important than my pests at Bosch Pest Control.
Yeah,
That's what we're learning.
So, say la vie, right? So, okay, let's talk about. So, Iowa is, we live in this interesting area where we're like half agriculture, half city, and we've got tons of living things floating all around. Winter's coming, I've always noticed things want to be where it's warm. Is that kind of why we start seeing, am I totally all wet, or is that like...
So our mice, the cute critter out of the bunch, we
You have
can
an
call,
interesting perception of pests.
we can call the Asian beetles, the multicolored Asian beetle, the box elder bug, and the brown marmorated stink bug. They're all accidental invaders. They don't really want to be in your house. They just want to be warm.
Right.
There's no food source for those guys in your house. So they will end up coming out of their hiding place, and if you leave them alone, they're going to die on their own. Vacuum cleaner, though, is usually what most people resort to.
That's what we were just talking about down on one side of our house. It's
Yeah, but the mouse, he actually wants to come in, and he's not necessarily an accidental invader. He will find a food source, and he will make life grand for himself and his family. And so yeah, the cute little mouse, then it ceases to be so cute.
yeah. So, I assume, what are the things that you do to kind of prevent them from wanting to come in, in the first place? I mean, I assume things like don't leave garage doors open, like simple stuff like that. But is there like anything else that like you guys do to help, or what? How do you keep those guys out?
So with the mice, we have rodent baiters we put around the outside. The idea of giving this food source before they come to the house. So they like to come up to the house, run along the edge. They find this nice little black box that's nice and dark in there, and they'll run in there to see what's going on. And so he'll go in there, he'll find the food ready for him. And that's the whole idea of that program, is keep the food fresh. So we're there on a monthly basis, and he'll go in, chew on it, go off and die someplace other than in your house. And if we're successful, that'll keep him out. We also, with that program, we like to walk around the perimeter of the house and point out places around plumbing or gas lines or air conditioning lines. Vinyl siding has holes in the corners oftentimes that are empty. And they'll just shoot up in there, get underneath your siding. Garage doors, you mentioned, the seal has a tendency to wear. I have one that's probably got about a 2-inch gap now that the seal is just starting to wear out. So they'll look for stuff like that, come cruising in because it's nice and warm, and they're kind of cold outside.
So if you have, is a mouse like if you see one, there's more?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
And the way you find out is mice are creatures of habit, and they also leave a trail every place they go. That's the gross part about the mouse. So if one mouse gets in, then and let's say you trap him underneath your sink, then you reset that trap underneath the sink, and then you find out if more mice are in, because they're going to follow each other. I've had a friend who used to catch them in a silverware drawer, and every year he'd catch 2 or 3 mice in a silverware drawer, and that was the only place he ever got them.
That would freak me out.
Because they always follow the trail of their predecessor.
Not like mice bother me in and of themselves, but if I opened a drawer and all of a sudden there was a mouse there, I'll be honest, I would probably freak out a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, because we live kind of like out in the country a little bit. So like, we've got a ravine. And so seeing little critters and things running around, it's not a big deal, right?
If they stay outside.
Right, exactly. As long as they stay outside. As long as, and Melissa and I talk about this because our son's, 11, and he's a little less comfortable with things that he can't predict what they're going to do, let's say.
Yep.
And so, flies, any sort of small hopping creature, wigs them out because what's it going to do? What's it going to do? Like,
Yep.
And mice are right up in that arena. So, but it's not, is there any real danger of a mouse being in the house? Like, can it make you sick? Like, or is it just the annoyance or a little both?
They can contaminate your food source because they leave a trail. Their trail is actually their urine, and that's all over wherever they've been running. So whether it be along your baseboard in your house, could be in your pantry, could be on your kitchen counters. So yeah, it can get kind of bad. So that's why the mice situation is one you really want to deal with. Even though they're cute, they don't belong in your house.
Again, I still wouldn't go back to cute. Like, I don't mind them, but I'm not going to cute, Jeff. So yeah, if you got a mouse.
But our mouse has a bow tie.
Yeah, well, he's a well-dressed mouse. I've never seen a bow tie on one near my house, though.
That's right.
So that's like the four-legged furry kind of annoyance. The more annoying, at least for me, are all the stupid little flying things that decide they're going to hang out, right?
Yep.
Whether it's the beetles, whether it's box elder bugs, because we got all of it out there. But the one that's shown up, and I've heard a lot of people talking about this, it's like this year are like, I don't know, are they gnats? Or like, we even get them in here a little bit. Like everyone, you just see like this one little guy flying around. What are those?
Well, we would have to see that, and that's one service we offer at Bosch is you catch that annoyance and put it in a Ziploc bag and bring it down to us, and we'll help you identify.
You can't just go by like it's like this big and it's black.
No,
and that doesn't.
No.
That doesn't like.
No, we've had people dealing with various things and sending. We were talking Dr. Lewis at Iowa State, and they'll send him all kinds of things that they think are insects. And oftentimes it's people that are dealing with delusional paratosis, and they see bugs every place they go. and they're not bugs. They're crumbs from their bread or toast, or their cinnamon on top of an apple pie or something like that. But they're sending all this, their fuzz that they pick up off the floor to Dr. Lewis because they think they're bugs. So we like to stick to what you bring to us in a Ziploc bag. If it actually has 4 to 6 legs, we can help you out.
So no centipedes. You're out on centipedes?
Centipedes, most people can identify a centipede. It's got lots of legs. Centipedes, millipedes.
Fair enough.
But yeah, it's no, I thought you were going to go with like the brown marmorated stink bug.
Yeah,
I was sitting in my chair. I was sitting in my chair one night, and this little thing, and they're big.
Yeah,
how in the world they get through that crack of my door?
They're like, well, and obviously they're like wide and flat. Because they're like the size of a quarter maybe.
Yep. And they fly really, really slow. So
yeah.
Here he comes, and he's attracted to light. So he's flying over to my wife's lamp, but don't tell her. And he's just as slow as can be, and you can actually watch that little guy go across.
Yeah, and again, that's one, I will say this. The one advantage of having my son in our house is if there is any sort of creature like that, he will not rest. He will not sit until it has been eradicated in one way, shape, or form or another. And if you're sitting there trying to enjoy, say, a football game or something, you might as well just go ahead and get up and get it handled, because it's not going to be over until it's handled.
Yep.
So one thing, I want to come back to these, but something that I wanted to remember to ask you, and I don't want to forget, is what happened to lightning bugs? Like, I kind of noticed there didn't seem to be as many as like I thought there was when I was a kid. And then I was reading a thing about like, it's a thing, right? Like,
yeah, it's a cycle actually. So lightning bugs, yeah, for some reason right now we're kind of low on those boogers. But I would say, give it another 5 years or so and we'll start to, let's see, we have fields in our backyard and wide open, and so we can see them, but you're right, they're not as prevalent as they used to be.
Yeah, I remember when I was a kid, I had a toy sword. I would go out and like play ninja, and like that's what you do, is you just take out lightning bugs with your sword all night. And
we used to catch them, put them in a jar and bring them in.
Yeah,
and you've got a nightlight.
I wasn't that nice. I was way more violent as a child, apparently. It must be that. Well, okay, now hold on. I'm going to stick up for myself here. I was born in '79, so mid '80s, late '80s. That's Ninja Turtles. That's it was a thing, right?
Yep,
like,
it was, yeah.
There was no like cartoon about putting fireflies in a jar.
Right. Well, and your parents probably appreciated you taking it out.
Yeah, they didn't mind
on the fireflies rather than on them.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So as we, let's kind of like talk about each one of these real quick, because I guarantee you either have some of these things floating around or you will or whatever. So the first one is the box elder bug.
Okay.
That's kind of like the classic Iowa, like crunchy bug, because there's, how do you end up with so many in one spot? Like I remember when I was a kid at Colorado, there would be just like a pile of them. Like, how does that happen?
They, number one, they're groupies. Actually, the ladybug and the box elder bug are groupies. They like to be in bunches, and that's how they find warmth. And so if they can't get inside your walls, then you'll find them. But even inside your walls, they'll oftentimes be bunched up. But they find warmth in each other. So that's why you see a bunch of them. And they basically are coming out of the woods, whether it be the box elder tree or an ash tree or something like that. They're out there all day long or all season long enjoying each other's company, whatever. And then once it starts to turn cold, then they say, hey, there's some steam coming off that place over there. I can kind of feel that. So then they'll come to the house. Generally, you're going to find them on the south side of the house, sometimes a little bit around the corner on the west. But they'll be on the south side of the house, and they're in bunches on the south side of the house. And so, our program is take our sprayer with chemical and spray up underneath your siding if you got vinyl siding. We mentioned with the mice that those corners are hollow. And so with that, the box elder bugs also know that. So they can get up under there. So we try to treat up in there. All the places that we think that the box elder bug can
wasps
hide
like
in.
Those too.
Wasps, yes, they do.
They love them.
Yes. And so anyway, and then the key for these guys, all three of them, is good exterior treatment in the fall when you see the first ones coming. If you wait till spring, they're already there, and then the best answer for that is this is a squeaky chair. The best answer you have for that is your vacuum cleaner.
Yeah.
You can do a lot of spraying, and even on Doc Lewis's, I sent you a bunch of Doc Lewis's stuff from Iowa State. Most pesticides inside the house don't have a great effect on the box elder bug and the Asian beetle, because you're only going to see one or two at a time, and you need to get. They're generally inside your window casing or up underneath your siding, and they just find this nice warm spot and an avenue to get right into your house and torment you.
Yeah. So, stink bug. What makes them stink so bad?
Well, that's just their nature. And actually, all three of these bugs, as I was reading up on preparing for today, they all three, if you smash them, you're gonna wish you didn't.
Yeah.
But the stink bug is, that's just its nature, and that's one of its defense mechanisms. And so.
It's not a very good defense mechanism if it doesn't come out until they're squished.
Well, but when it comes to its predators,
Yeah.
The predators will stay away because
They know.
yeah. it's there. And so the brown, it's interesting with, and I mentioned Doc Lewis, I've worked with him for years at Iowa State. He has a map, and I don't know if do you have that up, Chris?
Yeah, I've been looking up photos, links.
Yeah.
So he has a map of where the brown marmorated stink bug has made it as far as Iowa goes. And of course, Muscatine County is right there.
Yeah.
But there's assorted counties throughout that.
Wait, so it's not everywhere?
It's not everywhere, no. It's.
I guess I just assumed it was.
So
Chris, do you have this map, or should I show a camera?
Yeah, sure.
Which one do you want me to use? Mine? Yeah, so wait, how did this, okay, so Muscatine's unique, okay, we have lots of cool stuff like Japanese gardens, but then we get the flip side of that. We also apparently get stink bugs that nobody else gets. So leave it to Muscatine, right, folks?
And some of this are reported incidents. So it could be that maybe down in Fremont County, they might have a brown marmorated stink bug, but nobody really cares.
Can we? That is Muscatine.
There we go. We care.
We will let everybody know what
That's
pests
right.
we have without question, without fail.
That's right.
So wait, so are they not native to here?
No, they came from out east, and we used to track them, and they finally made it to Iowa. So now we just quit tracking because they're here. But yeah, we could follow them from state to state as they're coming across, and now they made it.
See, this is the stuff that's always mind-boggling to me. Like, you would think, and again, I'm obviously no bug expert, but I guess part of me just thinks they kind of, I don't think of them as moving. You know what I mean? Like, I just think of most things, they're kind of where they are,
Yep.
But this thing's been invading from the east. How did we not put up a line of defense? Okay, I'm gonna call you guys out, you pest control guys. You saw this thing coming, right?
Yep.
You didn't sound the alarm. You did not Paul Revere this.
Well, we kind of did, but there's not much you can do about it. They fly, and so unless you do an aerial application, years ago, I remember actually when I started back in the 70s, we had this product called DDT.
This product called DDT.
And that's we eliminated a lot of insects with that.
Yes, you did.
But
you eliminated a lot of stuff with that.
The government seemed to think that it's important to remove DDT.
Yeah.
And I kind of agree with them.
Yeah.
So really what it amounts to is the government decides, EPA, got to have them involved. EPA decides what's important and what's not important. And so even dealing with bed bugs.
I feel very confident already.
Yeah, I know. Even dealing with bed bugs, they don't really care about the bed bug because the bed bugs are not vectors of disease. So I don't know if you remember a few years ago when the mosquito, we had all these viruses, and mostly it's Florida and places like that. So people are out, they're showing you on the news, people fogging during the middle of the day, and with these foggers going after mosquitoes, and they're spraying it all over the place. People are walking by, and which is all not according to label. And we teach our guys the label is the law, because if you get busted using the chemical in a way it's not listed, you could lose your license. But because of the mosquito and because of the disease that it carries, EPA allowed them to do it like this. Now, the interesting thing is, when it came to the mosquito's not even active during the day. They're active at dawn and dusk. And so, but they were out there like crazy. Bed bug, on the other hand, the pest control industry has asked for stronger chemicals, and they won't approve them because they're not concerned. And so when it comes to these other guys, they're just a pest. And especially when you call them accidental invaders.
Well, then stop calling them accidental invaders.
Yes.
Call them intruders.
Intruders.
Here's the thing. If we were in Texas, they'd be able to shoot first.
That's right.
I mean, they're not going to wait.
Yep. So anyway, so the government really dictates what you can do and how much you can use, and which it can be frustrating. You're right. Yeah, because like I said, Doc Lewis, he mapped this, and I was on the state board with him for 13 years, and every year, sometime during the state meetings, he would show us this map, and here they're getting closer. They're in Indiana now, and so yeah, the entomologists have a pretty good handle on it, but when you got to deal with the government and get permission, it's kind of like saying, here's an ant. You got to call the EPA. Can I kill this ant? He's got 6 legs, and so.
That doesn't sound.
But it's good to have regulations.
Well, I'm going to go back to, if you're on my property, I'm going to, by any means necessary, you are gone.
Yep, and you're allowed to do that. You're allowed to do that. But it's when it comes to spraying chemicals.
Yeah, okay, I suppose.
They
probably shouldn't make a business out of that.
Yeah. I mean, you're free to go to your neighbors and say, hey, I'd like to walk around your yard and stomp on and squish any brown marmorated stink bugs I can find. And they'd probably let you do it just for the heck of it.
I'll leave it to you. I will leave all things this to you guys.
Yep.
If a vacuum, anything past a vacuum, it's in your ballpark. So, holy cow. Is there anything else major? Like, I love this because, like, this is the kind of thing that, like, we all should know a little bit about it, because it hits all of us, and we all think we understand it, but in reality, don't have a clue.
Right. Yep. No, we've, as far as these, fall invaders, the mouse is the most serious, really. The rest of them, we can handle on the outside. A good outside treatment will take care of them. The mice is a little bit trickier, but also the mouse is the one that could carry the disease.
And definitely when it comes to mice, don't squash them. Bosh them. That's right. Because squashing a mouse would be messy.
And that's as you mentioned that's a Bob Bosch logo. And so that's a good segue into this next year, 2024, Bosch Pest Control will be celebrating 75 years of being in service in the Muscatine County and surrounding areas. So, but yeah, Bob Bosch came up with don't squash them, bosh them, got bugs, get Bosch.
Yep. I remember that, like, it's kind of like the Car Dad Call Fred sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like, I guarantee you every kid my age knows it.
Yep. So we're going to, hopefully next year we'll be able to celebrate Bob Bosch. He was a neat guy. He did a lot of interesting things. We talked about mice and the rodent baiters. Just a little side note, Bob Bosch is the first one to have a patent on paraffinized rodent bait. And right here in Muscatine, under American Chemical Company's name.
Oh, so it's like the bait that's like in the waxy,
little blocks.
like the little
blocks. So he sold his patent to Malcolm Stack out of Madison, Wisconsin, and Malcolm has turned that into Bell Laboratories, which is now the largest rodenticide manufacturer in the world.
Oh yeah, because don't they do? Is it black? No, I don't know. I feel like I've seen that.
Yeah. So anyway, so that all started here in Muscatine under Bob Bosch.
Wow.
So yeah, it was so we'd like to be able to spend next year celebrating, because I don't think a lot of people realize the scope of what Bob did
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean,
and so-
I'd be more than happy to have us help kind of like contribute and tell that story, because it's, you know, Muscatine's entrepreneurial history
Right.
is vast.
Yep.
From every industry, from lumber, pearls, and all the way up through obviously like the big post-war stuff, but that's, you know, kind of that same era, right?
Right.
You've got a guy in pest control, and you've got like, and I don't know what it is in the water here, but it sure seems to work.
It does, yeah.
Was it something Bosch put in the water?
Yeah,
Is that-
it could be. But yeah, Bob was, you know, he's just an example of the many entrepreneurs, like you said, that came right here from Muscatine.
Yeah.
And very successul at it.
Yeah, well, holy cow. Basically, this all sums up. If you see something with a bunch of legs, just call Jeff. Just
There we
like
go.
call down. They handle it. They're all super nice. They walk up, they do their thing, and it's just handled.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah,
Like,
you'll be able to talk to Deanne or Danielle or Patty. You got
Yep.
another month and a half to talk to Patty.
Yep.
So I'll tell Patty you'll be calling.
Awesome. Well, Jeff, thank you for coming in. It was a blast. Thanks for bringing in the friendly versions of the annoyances that we all
There
have
we
at
go.
home. And that will do it for us today, and we will see you tomorrow. Until then, go attack the rest of the day with an enthusiasm unknown to mankind.